Hey guys, it's me again. This is going to be the second episode of Daydreams and Dawdles, which is just a podcast that I started last year and I only did one episode. So it's just me meandering with a microphone and just talking about what's been on my mind, the focus of the channel, future content, hopefully future guests, but we're still a quite small, intimate channel at the moment. Not TTRPG related, but I live in the city of Brisbane in Australia, and at the moment Cyclone Alfred has been causing us grief in my state, so it's been non-stop raining since late last week. Trees falling down here and there across the city, roofs being taken off houses. That sounds really hectic, and it is, but it could be worse. They predicted a lot of other terrible things to happen. It was going to be a category 2, but I believe it is now downgraded to a category 1 for Brisbane anyway. I think the coast took the brunt of the chaos, so the Gold Coast. But yeah, it's been really hectic. This feels like COVID lockdown all over again. All the supermarkets have been almost emptied for the last few days. Panic buying, so toilet rolls, essentials. Yeah, so that's what's been happening over the weekend for me. It's Sunday, so I've decided, side tangent here, but I've decided, and I will try to keep to this, I'm fairly certain I can do this, because this is just sitting back and talking to a microphone and not reading a script, but I'm going to do it every Sunday. That was my stomach rumbling. Hopefully that the mic didn't pick that up. And there's also distant rain coming from behind my window, so hopefully that doesn't get picked up either. But yeah, because it's so laid back and it doesn't take much energy to do, I will promise, and this is a promise that I can keep, I will promise to do a podcast every Sunday. And I know that this will not get many views, so I'm probably talking to about 1 or 2 people, and that's fine with me. I just want to have content up, and to document my journey into the YouTube space of role-playing games. Another thing about the storm was supposedly there was meant to be, well, not supposedly, there was power outages across the city and the state. So we had whole suburbs going out, thousands of homes. Lucky for me, my unit, which is central Brisbane, so in the CBD or city business district, we've been safe. So, well, I don't live in the city CBD suburb, but I'm not going to say where I live, which suburb, but I live in the inner, the center of Brisbane. But yeah, so luckily we didn't lose power. I was freaking out there and had to buy a ton of food before this madness started, and also I was trying to hunt down a power bank for my multiple devices. And yeah, I tried to go to the major retailers here in my area, and they were all emptied of power banks and various other things like torches and batteries, etc. So in my despair, I tried a convenience store, and huzzah, they had plenty. It's weird because during lockdown, the convenience store saved me many times with toilet paper. So thank you, 7-Day convenience store. But other than the weather madness, I have been contemplating the trajectory or the gradual direction, rise. I don't know the words I'm trying to find here, but where I'm going with this channel, what I want to achieve. I know last year I set myself a goal to get 500 subscribers, and I got 100, just a little bit over 100. And I appreciate and love all you guys. And I know that if I'd kept pushing content and found my niche, I probably would have reached my goal. But because I sort of was getting burnt out from work, and plus the other projects that I do in my life as well, they were taking up some time, and it all sort of coalesced, and I just like, you know what, I'm taking a break, going to come back, I'm going to re-strategize what I'm going to do, and then come back and try it again. And a lot of things happened since I was away. Obviously the music video, which hasn't it should have been finished last year, but there's a few pickup shots we need to do. This is the second music video I've done for Camilla Judith, solo artist. And also I used to be in a band myself, actually, and I reconvened with the guys after we broke up like 2 or 3 years ago. It was a pretty bad breakup for a band, and we reconvened over someone having a crisis and became friends again. So that sort of took up another chunk of months from last year. So I believe I was away for 6 months. So that was all that sort of drama and chaos. But since then, I've seen the hobby. Man, I'm catching up on videos. You won't believe it. Like, I have like 2 YouTube accounts, right? I've got my D&D TTRPG, this one, the Helios account, and I subscribe to all the big YouTubers in the hobby. And I just like, at the time when I started this channel, sorry, not when I started this channel, but when I started to do D&D content, I would religiously just absorb all the videos that I subscribed to. But now I'm like catching up, going back and like watching all the old catalog, old, but like, you know, the 6-month-old catalog of all my favorite YouTubers in the D&D space or role-playing space. And yeah, it's interesting what's happened since I was away. It's weird because a lot of things have changed, but also a lot of things haven't changed, like the whole drama that constantly happens with Wizards of the Coast. Yeah, so I was pretty shocked about dropping the orcs, and I kind of knew that they were going to do stuff like the species and all the other various changes for the change of direction that they're going, I guess, with a different audience or trying to move with the times. We are in a turbulent social upheaval at the moment, so I'm not even going to touch that with a stick. I'm not even going to get into politics on this channel. This, ironically, when I started this channel, actually, I have two videos that are hidden because I don't want to talk about politics, but I don't have the stomach to delete them. But I created them when I first created this channel back in the day. Oh, I'm just doing a recording. Where was I? I momentarily paused the audio just then, but I'm having a mind blank. Ah, yes. So I took a break for a while. It was much needed, and now I have a rough idea of where I'm going to go with this channel. It took me a while to actually decide on an important decision on what I was going to do with my future homebrew content, actually. And I decided that I won't go with Wizards of the Coast and Dungeons and Dragons anymore. there was a lot of changes that they have put into 5.5, which I'll call it, that I wasn't 100% happy with, and that's fine. Everyone has their tastes, and it doesn't make a product worth any less. Just to me, it wasn't something that I want to get behind, and others who do, that's cool. And I hope that D&D one day sort of comes back to its roots, and without sounding political, I just feel that the old guard have been sort of isolated from their own hobby in some sense. I understand there's a lot of heavy baggage for a better word from the past. I'm just not cool with just some of the things that they published, especially in that book, which I cannot think of the name, but the Dungeons and Dragons history book that they recently published, and just the negativity online towards some of the old guard, and obviously the changes in some of the rules. Like, for me, I know it's bizarre. Like, I don't really care about the whole species race thing. I'll probably still call them races, but it didn't bother me that they changed that. But the dropping of the orcs was really bizarre. I understand that they're trying to World of Warcraft the orcs in the D&D world and make them a bit more human in a sense, even though, a majority of us, I would assume, I don't want to speak for the D&D community because we're all fragmented, but a majority of us have a vision of orcs. I just feel this is really not even the modern fans how they envision orcs. But anyway, that wasn't the main thing. There was a few other things. The first thing that got me was getting rid of the contest rule, man. I love that rule, and I still use it, like contest of strength, etc. But also, some of the mechanics of the rules that I was learning about from some of the bigger YouTubers that sat with me for a while, and I really saw what they were talking about. Like, I wasn't aware of the problems with combat until I started to DM my own game, and then I saw how it can drag out and how players always seem to have the upper hand, which I don't mind, because my way of dealing with it wasn't so much as tweaking the monsters. Sometimes yes, sometimes no, and I do love to homebrew. But what I would do is to shorten the combat. I would even buff them even more with magical objects or magical weapons, but I would increase the CR challenges. I was trying to find that sweet spot where the battles were fast enough not to be a whole afternoon, but not fast enough for them to be bored and go, oh, that was easy. So it was kind of weird because I was tweaking the CRs. Like, you normally, it's a rough guide, but normally you wouldn't pit players at an X level at a CR rating, which is above their, what's the word? Their scope, I suppose. But I would find what my party was good at fighting, how they worked well together, and it didn't really matter in the end. The CRs, I was testing it. I kept throwing one plus CR on top. Like, each round, each fight, I would increase it by 1, and then I'd find a spot where I could feel them feeling the struggle, and then I'm like, okay, this is the spot where they've been challenged at a good level. And then with their equipment, give them all this magical equipment, which was mostly homebrewed, so it wasn't, I could tweak it to my own liking, and that would help with the damage control and make the fights shorter. It was tedious, man, and this campaign is still going. It's very It was very exhausting, to say the least. So, when I started getting into the D&D content last year, I was, in the first video, I was discussing my interest in Shadowdark, and it kind of reminds me of fighting fantasy and advanced fighting fantasy in a sense that it has simplistic rules, and fighting is also quite fast, and you can die. Like that's on the table. Like it's not as you're not protecting the players. It's not like these superhero players from the 5e era that can the D&D the DM has to constantly be thinking of ways to challenge them and make them feel like everything is at risk. But and I still like that though, even though I have played 3.5 and Pathfinder, but that was a long time ago. And in my other videos that I've spoken briefly on this, it was very sporadic. Oh, crap. I just dropped my recording device. And it's still recording. There we go. Just going to make sure that's a little bit more secure there. I don't actually record into the computer, funnily enough. I use a field recorder, which are used for film. I used to be a filmmaker or independent filmmaker, and is one of the last pieces of equipment that I kept from that era of my life, because it's very handy. It's very robust. It can take 4 microphones, so very good for a group podcasting. But yeah, so that just fell off my table, but it is back on the table. So yeah, I was talking about the similarities between Shadowdark and my early teens, 20s, 30s, playing fighting fantasy, Warhammer, stuff that came from Peter Jackson and Ian Livingstone, 2 of my heroes in the fantasy genre, 2 Brits who created the game books, the fighting fantasy game books, and then branched out and started doing, well, actually I don't know my history that well, so I'm fairly confident they created Citadel Miniatures first. I know that, okay, so from memory, I know that Gary Gygax reached out to them in the early days to release D&D in England, and they were primarily focusing on D&D content, and then they started to do their own rules, etc. So I think they did Warhammer first, and then they did fighting fantasy books. I'm not 100% sure. I have to look at the Wikipedia entry, but regardless, I got into those games and HeroQuest and Space Crusade and the early Warhammer Fantasy battle games before it's now called Age of Sigmar. But I was into their world before I got into D&D, and I knew D&D existed, I just never played it, and I just played fighting fantasy books and advanced fighting fantasy, which is like a D&D, like an expanded rule set for a TTRPG setting sort of thing. So I primarily spent most of my time playing those games, which is weird. So it's kind of bizarre, really, because most people will come into the hobby playing D&D or something from Wizards of the Coast / TSR. But that's the way I came in, and then, like I said before, I played a few games here and there with my nerdy friends at university, and it was sort of coming out of 3.5 into 4, I think it was, and then people were jumping into Pathfinder. I can't remember. I think it was 2005, if memory serves me well, 2005 or 2006, when I first played D&D, like properly played D&D, and it was with my uni friends. I'd come out of a breakup, actually. I remember it now because, yeah, I had nothing else to do. I came out of a breakup and I played D&D with these guys. And it's so bizarre. I swear that I've played Vampire the Masquerade before D&D, but I'm not 100% sure. My memory's hazy from those days. Too many uni club nights and not studying. But anyway, back to the main point. I've decided that the work that I'm going to do for my channel and the PDFs that I'll be releasing in the future, whether that's going to be crowdfunded, because I have some ideas for big crowdfunded books, but at the moment I'm just going to work on small PDF releases for free. I'm going to go with the Shadow Dark rule set. So I think it was yesterday, I purchased the Shadow Dark core book. I was umming and ahhing about whether I was going to purchase it last year, and then I got the starter kit from the website and just didn't end up buying it. But now after, like I said before, after going through my thoughts on the whole D&D fiasco, I've decided to sway towards Shadow Dark and do some content on that. Obviously, I'm still going to do the D&D horror stories, which I found quite fun. The Reddit horror stories. So, I'll be focusing on D&D. And if I create some stat blocks for the... I do this thing where... And I've noticed that not other Reddit horror story readers or narrators but create is like supplementary documents and stuff to go with the horror story. So I will get a horror story and then I'll either make a map or make some monster stats based on the weird stuff that the storyteller is saying, and then I'll like link it in the video. Yeah, I've noticed that a lot of the other D&D or the dungeon tubers who do Reddit stories, they just narrate it. So I thought I'd try something different. That's my cat snoring in the background. One of my 3 cats, Ruby. I don't know if that got picked up or not, but I will keep that in there. But yeah, I decided to go in that direction, and I've also been umming and ahhing because my love for Peter and Ian's work is still in my heart, and I'm just wondering whether I should do some lore videos on the Alanzia setting for Fighting Fantasy. I kind of do, because there is nothing out there at the moment. Like, I've noticed that it is a niche, but it's also, if you do that niche and you're the only one who does it, you can build a good solid audience. And I love the lore as well, so it's not like I would be just doing it for the views, but partly because of that, but also mostly because I love the lore, and Alanzia was my first love, along with the original Star Wars trilogy, Lord of the Rings, all the 80s, 90s fantasy settings, but fantasy novels actually. They don't make books like they used to, like Feist and Eddings, and I don't know. Like I've noticed that fantasy's kind of gone in a different direction at the moment. Like, it's become more of like I dare to say, like a fantasy romance, or like a young YA genre. But maybe I'm old and I'm not looking into what's available at the moment, and I'm just set in my ways. I'm open to suggestions. If that one person who's listening to this video has a suggestion, just drop it in the comments below. But yeah, that's all I really have to say on this Sunday night. I really have to get back to talking about horror stories. I have to get back to finishing recording my voice for my next Reddit horror story, which is ready and rearing to go. Oh, I do have one other thing to say, which I just remembered. Okay, so last year, one of my first videos that I created was about using Google Slides for a VTT. So when you're hosting a D&D campaign and you're playing online or playing in person with and everyone's got laptops, instead of using Fantasy Grounds or Roll20 or those ones. I love Owlbear. I use Owlbear myself, but I created a video about using Google Slides for VTT, and I thought I was original for some bizarre reason, because I sort of stumbled on it whilst trying to homebrew or DIY, do it yourself, DIY, DIY, a way to have the map. One moment, I'm just going to have a mouthful of water away from the microphone. DIY a map for the players, and I was using Google Sheets, for a while, and then I discovered Slides, and then I imported the pre-made maps and maps that I made into Slides. And anyway, you can watch the video. The description will be in the link below. But I thought I was the first person. How naive and dumb can you be to think because we live in a collective consciousness. Someone out there has the same thought as you. Anyway, at the time, and I think I YouTube searched to make sure that there was nothing out there, and I didn't find anything. I'm fairly certain that's the case, but maybe I didn't, because I made the video and then, pardon me, I thought was awesome. I thought it was awesome. I was just like, yeah. And then just recently, and this is almost a year later, or whenever I made that video, I can't remember, but I only looked recently, and there are 2 videos on YouTube. One of them, I think it's 7 years old. Let me have a look. We're doing this in real time right now. Let's type D&D Google Slides. There's 2 videos by 2 creators that are old by years. And I feel like a goofball, but I think mine's more thorough. Here we go. This guy's name is Mick Espinos. Mick Espinos. So his video is called Free Online Tools for TTRPG Gaming Using Discord and Google Slides. That was 4 years ago. So Mick Espinos or Espinos. Now there's another one which is 7 years old. Let's just see if I can find it. Where is it? I swear I saw it the other day. Character sheets, no. We made D&D in Google Slides. That is a video I have not seen by Serafi Cross. I'll have to look at that one. I can't find it. There was one that was 7 years old, and it was some guy pretty much doing what I just did. Talking about Google Slides for D&D. But now I'm coming across a whole bunch of videos. There's another video by Vincent Maldicchio. Anyway, I'm not going to bore you, but I'm a bit disappointed. I can't find the really old one. How bizarre. Anyway, point is, now that I'm scrolling through here, I can see that people have been using Google Slides for a while now. So I am not unique. And my video comes across as very easy. Free character sheets. That's another thing. I found it wasn't slides, it was Google Sheets, and it was a D&D sheet that updated. Like it had cells that had rules in it that would, so when you enter in and figure out, you know, your stats and what your bonuses are and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, anyway, I can't find what I was looking for, but in the end, what I'm trying to say is that I'm a charlatan. No, what I'm trying to say is that yeah, I should do my research before I upload a video, trying to be unique and all. Anyway guys, that's it for episode 2 of Daydreams and Dawdles. I will do another one next Sunday, I promise. Maybe I'll get someone on as well. I've got a couple of mates who are interested in collaborating on stuff, so, and they're nerds like me, so maybe we can find a topic to talk about instead of me in my lonely room talking to a microphone to 1 or 2 people who've probably clicked away like long before this part. But yeah, I got to get back to this narration for the next Reddit horror story, and then I will get back to working on. Oh yes, I should really plug the PDF that I'm working on. That's ridiculous of me. This whole meandering conversation, and I never brought up what I've been working on. I've been working on an ebook with 30 monster stats. Originally, it was a D&D ebook, so I had lots of data, because you know, a monster stat, right, is like, sometimes it can be 3 pages, usually 1 or 2, with paragraphs and various attacks and, you know, blah blah blah, spells and actions and blah blah blah. And it looked great, but it's a lot of work, and I had planned to do 30 or 40. I'm just focusing on 30 monsters now, but now that I'm going to go with Shadowdark, that's going to be much faster, because I've got the Shadowdark core rules, and I'm looking at the bestiary section, and hell man, like, they can fit heaps of monsters on one page, or mostly, I think it's mostly like 2 or 3 at the most, but still, because the stats are so like simplistic. So I'm going to do that, and maybe if I get this done really quickly, maybe I will up it to 40 or 50. Like 30 fills a lot of pages in a D&D book, but on a Shadowdark book, it's probably only going to be a few pages. So I've got a lot of illustration artwork. Yes, I know, AI. I know, I am an ex-artist, but that doesn't justify the comment to some people. I know some people, and I understand your grievances. Yes, things have changed, and whether that's, well, actually there is good and bad and everything, and I can see the bad that everyone is railing against AI, but I use it a lot on this channel. So, and I'm not charging anything for this PDF. It's called The Reckless Horde, and it is full, it will be full of lore and rules, sorry, not rules, lore and monster stats for what you would call goblinoids, or I can't think of the other, there's another term for it, but greenskins, yeah, from the Warhammer universe. In my world, they're called hobs, and orcs, goblins, trolls, ogres, gremlins. There's a whole plethora of them, but I've created various subspecies. Yeah, I mentioned all this in my first podcast, and yeah, my world is obviously slightly different. Everyone has a different world, different laws. Some creatures are different. So in my world, ogres are not part of the giant family. Gremlins are not part of the Fae family. They're all part of the Hob family, and that's orcs and goblins and all the various, kobolds and bugbears and blah blah blah. And even they are slightly different from the D&D versions. It's coming together, and they might be slightly different in some regards to the Shadow Dark ones. I noticed that orcs are level 1, and my orc seems to be a level 2. So anyway, this is just my homebrew PDF. You can go over it once it's published and decide whether you want to use my creatures or not, or change them. And in the future, I do plan to release a like a not a core rule book, but like a setting or a campaign setting book, crowdfunded hopefully, and get real artists to design it. And then obviously I won't feel bad selling it, as opposed to AI, which is just for free. And I have another idea for a book which I know will sell, but I can't say anything about it. I'm excited, and maybe I'll put my campaigns book idea aside to work on this one, because I know, let's just say, if you like cats, then you'll like this one. Yeah, I'll talk more about it maybe in the next Daydream and Dawdles. But yeah, until then, I shall see you this week, and I will also be bringing back my Monster Mondays, but it won't be this Monday. Got a lot on, but I will be bringing back the Monster Mondays, and I'll be doing my Daydreams and Dawdles on Sundays, and hopefully either what am I trying to say? Either hopefully a core video from me, which is focused on something specific, or a Reddit horror story, maybe on alternating weeks. That's a lot of content, and whether that's a lot of promises, and whether I can do that or not. Oh man. I've put a task ahead of me that is greater than a mountain. But until then, I will see you later.
Tensa, is that you?
Mordenkainen. It took me a while, but I finally made it.